When we look at the man and he looked at his own possession, he was only concerned about what he had as opposed to the possibilities of those possessions. You see, so oftentimes in life, we can ill afford to get caught up in us. We can ill afford to look at our own thing and look at other folk and turn up our nose. Because what you fail to realize, yes, God has blessed you and brought you from a mighty long way. But God is also waiting to see who else you're going to bless because he's helped you. I stopped by to tell you that your anointing is not just for you, but God has given us an anointing that we can help somebody else. He helped us sing that song that we can bless some soul. He helped us do what we do right now in order that we can help somebody else. He gave you that good job, not to lay up treasures on earth, but to help somebody else. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It seems like that every dime that comes my way, there's always somebody in need. Do I have a witness? It seems like that everything that comes my way, there's always somebody else that needs my help. It doesn't matter how far he's brought me from. When I look back over my life, I'm so glad that I have a friend who helped me when I couldn't help myself. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Some of us would rather have houses and land. Some of us would rather have silver and gold. Some of us would rather have prestige as opposed to praise. But I stopped by to tell you, if God has done anything for anybody, you ought to be able to tell him thank you for where you brought me from. You ought to be able to tell him thank you for what you brought me out of. You ought to be able to tell him thank you for all of my food, all of my clothes, all that you provided for me. You ought to be able to tell him thank you. But the Bible tells us that as Jesus issued the warning in the parable, he said, thou fool, all your life is being required of you right now. He was trying to let him know that the things on this earth are going to pass away. The things on this earth are going to rust away. The things on this earth are not going to do you any good. In that great getting up morning. Oh, I wish I had a witness. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. The car is okay, but one of these days, I can't drive that car. One of these days, I can't put on my fine suit. One of these days, I can't wear my alligators. One of these days, I can't wear my fine hat. One of these days, one of these days, one of these days, when earth can afford me no home any longer. When I can't hold on any longer. After a while, and by, when life on earth is over, when I've tried to put my hand on this and tried to put my hand on that, I tried to store up everything, and all I couldn't earn, I tried to steal, and all I couldn't earn, I tried to take, and all I couldn't earn, I tried to find, and all I didn't have, I tried to take from somebody else. But I stopped by to declare to you today that all of that stuff doesn't belong to you to start with. All of that stuff didn't come from where you think it came from. But all of my help comes from the Lord. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Because God's been good to me. I know he's made a way out of no way. I wish I had a witness. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Sometimes in life, we're trying to pull down, build bigger bonds, trying to do more, but you haven't done anything with what God has already given you. When you survey your own life, look at your own life, see what you have in the closet. Look at your own life, see what you have at home. Look at your own life, see what God has given you. Then you will be able to declare that yes, God's been good to me. He's brought me from a mighty long way. I don't know about you, but God's been good to me. He's blessed me when I couldn't bless myself. God's been good to me. He's held me when I couldn't hold myself. God's been good to me. He's taken care of me when other folk turn their back on me. God's been good to me. He's brought me from a mighty long way. All that I have, I said all that I have, all that I have, ain't worth a hill of beans. If I ain't got Jesus, I know I ain't got nothing without the Lord. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Without the Lord, I can do nothing. Without the Lord, I could have nothing. Without the Lord, I can't go anywhere. Without the Lord, I can't love anybody. Without Jesus, somebody knows what I'm talking about. When too much is not enough. You can gather all you can gather. Put it in the most elaborate of bonds. Hold back all you can hold back and not give anything back to the Lord. You know, sometimes we feel that way anyway. I worked hard all week. I've been slaving on that job. And if you think I'm going to give the church any of my money, because all that I have is mine, all that I have belongs to me. Well, I stopped by to tell you this morning that you've got the wrong attitude. Because if it had not been for the Lord on your side, you wouldn't have been able to get up out that bed on Monday morning and go down to the job house and work all day long. If it had not been for the Lord, you wouldn't have been able to go outside, climb into your chariot, and ride to the workplace. If it had not been for the Lord, you wouldn't have been able, I said you wouldn't have been able to persevere all week long because the enemies were on your trail. Somebody was trying to discourage you all along the way. We need to remember where our help comes from. We need to remember that it's not about how much we have down here, but it is about how much we give back to the Lord. It's not about houses and land. It's not about fine clothes. It's not about possessions. It's not about jewelry. It's not about cars. It's not about clothes. It's not about shoes, even though they may look all right. But you've got to put it in its perspective and realize that God has done some good things for you, and God has done some good things for me. All that I have, I thank God for. All that I possess, I give God credit for. All that he's done for me, I give him credit for, because he's brought me from a mighty long way. Look back over your life and see what the Lord has done for you. Somebody knows that one day, I said one day, oh, one day, when time, I said time, was running out on us. You ought to be glad. You ought to be glad. You ought to be glad that I serve a God. I serve a God who reached way down, picked me up, and turned. He turned me around, and I'm glad about it. I'm glad about it because of what he's done for me. It's not about what I have. It's not about what I possess, but it's all about God and what he can do with what I have. You say, Lord, I might not have much, but your prayer ought to be, Lord, take what I have and use it, Lord. Lord, take what I have and help somebody else. Lord, take what I have and feed the hungry. Lord, take what I have and clothe the naked. Lord, take what I have and tell somebody that my God, I said sometimes in life, I soon discover that the more I get, the more trouble I get in. That the more I have, the more I go wayward. That the more God gives me, the less obedient I am and do what God tells me to do. Because sometimes having too much is not going to be enough. When you come to the end of your journey, when life is over, when this world can afford you no home any longer, sometimes too much is not going to be enough. When your soul is calling you, when your life is being required of you, when you know the time is running out, sometimes too much is not enough. And I stop by to declare to you today that if you don't have Jesus, it doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter how much you have, too much is not going to be enough. I wish I had somebody praying with me. Sometimes in life, we get caught up in who we are and what we have, that we forget about, that we have a responsibility one to another. That means that we are responsible for God's children. We are responsible for one another. And we ought to not turn up our nose when other folk are down on their luck, when things are not working out in their life. We ought to not turn up our nose when other folk are without, when people don't have any gas, don't have any food, don't have a job to go to. We ought to take what we have and give to others and let them know that if I'm going to make it to heaven, then I'm going to have to treat my neighbor right. I got to treat my brother right. I've got to treat my sister right. I can't close the door in somebody's face in the hour of need. But I've got to realize that all that God has given me, He's given me that I might help somebody else. He's given me that I might show somebody else the way. He's given me that I might uplift somebody who's downtrodden, that I might speak a word of encouragement. I wish I had a witness up in here. I feel my help coming on. Every now and then, when the doors of life press down on me, I've learned how to lean and depend on the Lord. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Because I know that when I run out of earthly resources, that the God I serve is able to give me some more resources. I know that when the money runs out, that the God I serve is able. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns the banks. He owns the grocery store. He owns everything. He owns Walmart. He owns Kmart. He owns all of those marts. And I'm not worried about what I go through, because all that's been created belongs to God. All He got to do is speak a word. You don't all know what I'm talking about, because one day He spoke a word and leaves jumped on trees. He spoke a word and stars were flung in the sky. He spoke a word and the earth was full of day and darkness was called night. He spoke a word and flesh jumped on bone, breathed in the nostrils of man, and man became a living being. He spoke a word and demons trembled.